Hello and welcome to another video. This is the 10th episode of the story in which Jiraiya and Tsunade are supposed to watch over Naruto, but instead Orochimaru takes care of him. How will this affect others as well as both of them? What will it mean for Konoha? This story was written by Brown Phantom. Kindly support him, her. Like and subscribe to help to support videos. Let's start this show. Morning came, making it the second day of the second part of the Chunin exam. Naruto's team found a spot to sleep at the far end of the Forest of Death, away from the Konoha team they fled from. Fortunately they had no other encounters, but Hinata and then Isaribi still kept guard. The swimming enthusiast was up for the last round of nighttime guard duty, and heard a noise behind her. She turned around, armed with a kunai, only to see Naruto had just woken up. "Oh, good morning Naruto-kun. Sleep well?" He nodded. "Yeah, but Hina-chan needs some more. I thought I'd keep you company till we head out." She smiled. "I'd love that." The two then sat down to be comfortable but still remained cautious of their surroundings. Isaribi decided to initiate the conversation. "You know Naruto-kun, I'm kinda glad you stood up to Hinata-chan like that last night. You'll have a hard time keeping 9 women's respect if you let yourself be whipped like that. I guess." He replied half-heartedly. She turned to face him. "Something wrong Naruto-kun?" He faced her before answering. "I'm just curious. Why exactly did you agree to be one of the 9 Isaribi-chan? I'm flattered and not against it, but I'd like to know why you'd want to be a part of this. I have a hard time understanding why any woman would, considering how I hear they hate unfaithful men and all." Isaribi fiddled with her hands, indicating she was a bit uncomfortable being put on the spot like that. "Well Naruto-kun, I've liked you for a long time. You were the first boy I got to know and you've always been my friend since then. I think I've basically had a crush on you my whole life. I was a little hurt when you told me that Hinata-chan was your girlfriend, but I wished you the best anyway because you still meant a lot to me. I think that was when I realized I had wanted to be your girlfriend too. When I heard you needed more girlfriends, I figured it was better to be on the edge of your heart if I couldn't be in the center." The memory of seeing Naruto and Hinata starting to date still made her heart ache. She knew why he chose her though. Those two were often together since Naruto needed to learn a taijutsu to go with his Niobe-Akugen, and Hinata needed to learn how to fight without using the Hyuga's Juken. The two had to always try new things out and be creative and compatible, so a relationship was inevitable. Only Haku, Sasami, and Fu got nearly as much of his attention in a similar way, but they weren't in the same class as him, so that increased the odds in Hinata's favor. Sensing her sadness, Naruto placed his arm around her shoulders to comfort her. She leaned into him more, eager to feel his warmth. "Besides, I have faith you'd stay faithful to us all. The fact that you care what we think and want us to be happy tells me you don't see us as sexual playthings to use until you get bored. Plus I'd be lying if I said you don't look downright hot in a swimsuit," she added, a bit more cheerful that moment. Naruto blushed. Thanks. And to be honest, I'd have to say the same to you." Now Isaribi blushed. "Thanks. Hey, I've always had this fantasy about going skinny dipping with you. Can we do that when we get back home?" Naruto's blush deepened and a small trickle of blood escaped his nose. Isaribi couldn't prevent herself from chuckling at his response. "I promise you'll like what you see," she coyly offered, pressing herself against him just to see his reaction. "I don't doubt that," he mumbled, still a little in shock at the notion of skinny dipping with a girl, even if Hinata had made the offer. Isaribi leaned against him some more, without pressing herself now, and rested a hand on his chest, feeling his hard muscles she enjoyed looking at when he was shirtless. "Naruto-kun, as long as we're on the subject, why did you ask me to be one of the 9? He cleared his throat. "Because, you're one of my dear friends too Isaribi-chan. I've always enjoyed when we had fun together growing up. I would have enjoyed training with you, but none of my Kekkei Genkai were compatible with your training. She nodded, remembering how she was trained under a former Kiri Nin in her particular fighting style thanks to Orochimaru before becoming a genin and being placed on Enko's team. I'm glad you always did make time for me though. She commented. I'll try to make more, when we're not on missions and such. But it will be tough since I still need to give the others personal time too. He told her. Feeling flattered, Isaribi leaned up and kissed his cheek. It's okay, being with you on your team and doing missions is good enough, so don't stress yourself too much for my sake. But I won't say no to more time when you want it. Before the two could say anything more, they heard approaching footsteps from behind and saw Hinata walk towards them rubbing the sleep out of her right eye. Good morning Naruto-kun, she said as she came up to him and kissed his cheek, aware Isaribi had already kissed the other one moments ago. Good morning Hina-chan, he told her. See? Was last night really so bad? Isaribi asked. Hinata mocked sighed. It could have been worse. That Hyuga could have caught up to us after all. Let's have something to eat then get moving so he can't do that anytime soon. Naruto offered. Hinata nodded, happy for the distraction. She woke up a few minutes after Naruto did but let him have some time alone with Isaribi. As much as she resisted, she couldn't help but eavesdrop a little. I'm glad that including Isaribi-chan turned out to be a good idea. I'm still not fully okay with having to share Naruto-kun intimately with others, but I guess if she isn't trying to steal my man from me I can tolerate it a bit more. Even so, I had to stop them before she went any further. I don't want Naruto-kun getting ideas that the other girls are more. She found herself unable to finish that particular thought. The trio ate a small breakfast of rations and did some stretches to get their bodies ready for the next day of challenges. They were in a hurry though, since now they had only 4 days counting today to complete the test. By now some teams were bound to be missing their original scroll, so if they were still in the game they'd be even more desperate. Without being asked to, Hinata activated her Byakugan and scanned the area. The first thing she looked for was the Hyuga from last night. She breathed a sigh of relief when she didn't see him, and then focused on finding teams with the scroll they needed, the Heaven Scroll. There's a Kusa team to the northwest with the scroll we need and a Hoshi team to the south-southeast with one too. The Kusa team is next to a river and the Hoshi team is by some bramble bushes and a cave. Which should we try to fight? I say the Kusa team. I could use that terrain better. Isaribi said. I gotta admit I've always wanted to see a Hoshi team in action, but now's probably not the time to be too curious. Naruto commented. Kusa it is then. Hinata claimed. Let's try the less surprising one first. With that, the trio took to the trees and headed northwest. Hinata kept her Byakugan on to detect any threats along the way and fortunately found none. They stopped before they could be noticed. Hinata used her Dojutsu to overlook the area. 3 genin as usual, all wearing green ponchos and straw rain hats. They're arranged in a triangular formation setting up tripwires, underground paper bombs, and kunai firing traps as well. So they're planning on resting here for a while, meaning they were seriously exhausted not too long ago and are still recovering and planning their next move. Or maybe they're taking down the traps and getting ready to move on soon. Either way, we should strike quickly. Agreed. How? Isaribi asked. Naruto smirked. I think I know how. The 3 Kusa nin went about their business, ignorant of their current observers. I'm done over here. One of them shouted out to his partners. Almost. Hopefully this should keep anyone out. Another said after planting some paper bombs underground like mines, some deeper than others to prevent anyone from using underground earth jutsus to sneak attack. The third member suddenly stopped what they were doing. They turned their head left and right to search the area. Something's wrong. I can sense a chakra source, but I can't pinpoint it. Try harder, Karen. The second Kusa genin plainly told his sensor Kunoichi teammate while he continued on his own work. Easy for you to say. She replied flatly as she continued to search her surroundings. Weird, for some reason, the direction I'm feeling the most chakra from is. She paled as she slowly lifted her head. Right, above me? When she looked up but not towards the trees, she saw a brunette boy wearing a music note Hitai-8 actually hovering above her, his arms crossing and his feet positioned to make it appear he was standing on something invisible. And the chakra amounts she sensed coming from this guy was leaps and bounds above anyone she even encountered before. Guys, we've got trouble. Karen warned her partners, all the while afraid and in awe of this newcomer. They turned towards her and were just as shocked to see a ninja floating in the air. Nice trap, but you forgot to consider an attack from above. Naruto stated. Oh yeah? Try dodging this. One of the Kusa male genin said as he threw several kunai. Weight increase. With a mere wave of his hand, Naruto made all kunai stop and fall straight to the ground. What the hell? He didn't even touch them. The second Kusa male genin said in shock. Naruto then waved his hand over them all. Weight increase. Suddenly, all three Kusa shinobi collapsed to the ground and couldn't get up. What's going on? I can't move. My body is so heavy. What did he do? Karen asked herself. Hina-chan. Isaribi-chan, act now. Naruto called out. The two girls came out and approached the down team carefully. Not out of fear, but caution for Naruto's gravity control jutsu. He could either target just them, or make everything in a specific area feel the effects. They didn't want to walk into the area if they'd become affected too and become so heavy their legs couldn't support their new weight. Fortunately it turned out only the shinobi were affected, so Hinata and Isaribi remained their normal weight. Hinata went up to one of the male genin and took the scroll out of his pocket. Or rather she struggled to. Naruto-kun, you made the scroll heavy too. It weighs as much as a bowling ball. My bad. Weight decrease. He replied. He couldn't return it to its original weight without cancelling out the entire jutsu, so he settled for making that specific item lighter. The scroll got lighter as intended and now could be lifted without hassle. Thanks. Isaribi pulled out some mono wire. Good. Now let's keep them from following us. We can't tie them up if they're too heavy to move. Hinata pointed out. Isaribi blinked twice in realization. Damn, you're right. Her initial idea for restraining these guys was to wrap them up in wire to make them unable to move after they got away. That couldn't be done under the circumstances. But then she got another idea and snapped her fingers. Wait, I know what to do. She reached into her equipment pouch and pulled out 3 nets made from mono wire that had kunais on the edge. Hinata smiled. That should do. Girls, I'm on a time limit here. Naruto said, reminding them he couldn't do this for too much longer. He even already came down to the ground but still had about 6 or 7 minutes left to use this bloodline. I'm on it. I'm on it. The purple-haired girl replied impatiently. She threw a net over each of the Kusa shinobi and used 6 kunai apiece to anchor the nets down, effectively holding them in place. And since monowire was a strong metallic thread that could cut flesh at times, getting free was not going to be easy. We're almost out of kunais now, Naruto-kun. The Byakugan wielder told the disguised blonde. I'll make us some more when we have some spare time. But for now, let's go. That should do it. Isaribi told them as she finished up tying down the last of the trio. Should I add an explosive tag too? That would be overkill. Let's just hurry to the tower. I bet I can get us there in less. Then 5 minutes. Naruto replied. Hinata nodded and smiled. Final round, here we come. She then grabbed onto Naruto so she could fly with him. Isaribi had to be placed on Naruto's back, since she still didn't care much for heights, and the young man took to the sky. Just who is that guy? Karen asked herself. Naruto landed before his time for using gravity control ended behind some trees close to the central tower of the forest. He stopped to rest for a bit and let the 9-second minimum before he could use any other Kekkei Genkai pass. Before we enter, I better make us some more weapons to replace what we lost in this test. Probably couldn't hurt. Isaribi agreed. Naruto activated his Tetsuten and made the dragon, horse, and monkey hand signs. Metal style, weaponsmith jutsu. He thrust open palms onto the soil and sent his chakra into it. From the ground emerged 3 dozen kunais, a dozen shuriken, and some steel monowire. That should take care of it, he said as he turned his Tetsuten off. Each of them pocketed the new weapons, but only Isaribi gained the monowire. She used it more than they did after all. Ready? Hinata asked. Her teammates nodded. Let's go inside then. The 3 approached the tower but didn't open the door right away, wondering if anything or anyone would try to stop them. When nothing did, they opened the door and carefully went inside. They saw a large open room with 2 staircases on either side, each leading to a stretched balcony, possibly for viewing purposes. So what do we do now? I don't see anything. Isaribi complained as they walked towards the center. Hey, what's that? Naruto asked, pointing towards the far side of the room. On the wall there appeared to be an inscription written out on a wall scroll. Isaribi started reading it out loud. If heaven does not exist, enrich your knowledge and prepare for the chance. If earth does not exist, run the fields in search of an advantage. Open the series of heaven and earth, and the perilous way shall be redressed. This is namely the secret of the one that guides. Okay, any idea what that means? Naruto asked. Something tells me we're not supposed to take that literally. Hinata thought it over. It mentioned heaven and earth, just like the scrolls we acquired do. And it says, open the series. Maybe they have some connection to this message. Naruto pulled both scrolls out and held them before himself. Should we open them and find out? For sure. The proctor said not to open them, but now that we're here I'm not sure what to do about it. You'd think there would be someone here waiting to retrieve them or something. Hinata answered, then she activated her Byakugan again. That's odd. There are several Konoha nin in other parts of this tower that are just lounging around, as if they're waiting for something. And I don't see any other genin teams here. We may be the first. Gravity control gave us a good speed advantage. Naruto commented. Should we find someone? Hinata shook her head. That could reveal my Byakugan if we just inexplicably knew where to look. Oh, for crying out loud. Isaribi moaned as she took the scrolls from Naruto. Let's just open them and see if that changes anything. We followed the rules so we shouldn't get disqualified for this. Before they could stop her, she broke both seals on the scrolls and unfurled them. Huh? What's that? They all asked when they saw the contents for both, which appeared to be a complex seal diagram. Then both diagrams started emitting thick smoke clouds, making Isaribi drop them and back away. Oh crap, I hope I didn't make a big mistake just then. The smoke cleared and there stood a person atop the 2 discarded scrolls. He appeared to be a chunin of Konoha with a pineapple hairstyle and a scar across his nose. Whoa, I'm surprised to see someone make it here so soon. I was expecting one more day at least. He casually claimed. All 3 Oto genin got into a defensive stance. Relax, my name's Irika Yumino and I'm here to tell you 3 you passed the second test. Good. So now what? Naruto asked as they all relaxed. Since there's still plenty of time left in the test, you three can relax until the deadline at noon 3 days from now, as long as you stay in the tower. When the deadline comes, you and all other passing genin must hear in this room to be considered eligible for advancement to the 3rd round. Will we be given a reminder on the 5th day to be here on time? It's common courtesy. Hinata asked. Irika nodded. Yes, you will. Why do you ask? Just a precaution. Isaribi answered. Irika nodded. In any case, take this time to unwind. There are rooms provided, which teams will have to share despite differing genders, so we can keep track of the numbers easier, and food, hot water, and medical treatment if needed will be provided for the next few days. Think of it as our way of congratulating you for getting this far and showing hospitality to guests in our village. Just don't overindulge yourselves, please. We can do that. By the way, I'm just curious, but are we the first team to show up? Naruto asked. I think you are. Irika answered with a hint of pride strangely in his voice. Naruto smiled. Won't Konoha be upset to hear Oto finished first? But soon comes the true test of strength. Hey, is there an indoor pool or something here? Isaribi asked. Yeah, there's a small one. Swimming is the best exercise after all. Irika told her. You brought your swimsuit on this test? Naruto asked in disbelief. Isaribi smiled and winked. Nope. Come on, Naruto-kun. You promised. Isaribi said as she tried dragging her reluctant teammate down a hallway, with Hinata just watching with a small frown. No, I didn't. You asked me but I never gave an answer. Naruto semi-shouted. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Does the idea of swimming with me au naturel really disgust you? Isaribi asked, sounding a little hurt. What? I'm not disgusted. Then why the fuss? Hinata withheld her desire to sigh. It's me, I know it. He's resisting because of me. In that case, I should do something to make him decide for his own sake rather than mine. She then stepped up and whispered loudly into Naruto's ear. What if I went swimming too? That caused the young man's man to go full meltdown. Thoughts of Hinata and Isaribi both naked and sopping wet flashed through his mind, and he zoned out with a nosebleed and a smile. Nice one, Hinata-chan. Isaribi commented at seeing the reaction. Thanks. I'm actually kind of glad we make such an impact on him. The purple-haired girl nodded. I wonder why he was so hesitant. I mean, he's a healthy boy with several girls wanting him intimately. Shouldn't he be more curious than this? I'm flattered he's trying to be noble, but there is such a thing as too far. Hinata sadly nodded. Maybe that's my fault. I don't think he's fully accepted the sharing idea either yet, and I haven't done much to help that. You two better. I mean, do you want to have all 9 kids yourself? Isaribi asked. Hinata shook her head. No, Oka-san convinced me that option was a bad choice. My mind knows the harem is a good idea, but my heart isn't fully convinced yet. Isaribi smiled. Well, a good bear swim should be good for you too. Naruto seemed to regain his senses again, unaware of what the two girls had been saying. Did I just seriously hear? You two offer to go swimming, naked, with me watching? Who said you would just be watching? Isaribi teasingly asked. Yeah. Hinata added. If we're treating you to a show, it's only fair you do the same for us. Naruto just looked at them both in disbelief. You can't be serious. Why not? Both girls asked. What if someone saw you? Naruto asked. Then you'd be there to kick their peeping asses. Isaribi answered matter-of-factly. Seeing his indecision remain, she applied the sad puppy eyes. You mean you won't defend your girls from perverts, Naruto-kun? Hinata added the sad puppy eyes too. You wouldn't leave two helpless women to the mercy of perverts, right, Naruto-kun? Damn, I can see why this is considered a kinjutsu. The Jinchuriki told himself. Fine, you win. But I know neither of you are helpless. Hinata and Isaribi smiled, looking forward to this little activity. Finally, I can see it without needing the Byakugan. But no one finds out about this, you hear? He sternly told them, making them nod. A little later, Sasami, Haku, and Fu reached the team and were greeted by a Konoha Chunin who told them to relax. Right now they were walking down the halls trying to find the cafeteria. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Sasami muttered. I'd settle for a sandwich myself. Fu commented. I just want to lay down and not do anything for a while. After a quick bite, of course. Haku claimed. They passed a closed door with a window on it, and Haku froze as she happened to see what was on the other side. Sasami and Fu kept walking until they noticed their ice-using teammate had stayed behind. What's up? Fu asked. Naruto-kun, I think. Haku answered, her eyes never leaving the window. What? The other girls asked, then looked for themselves, gasping at what they saw. There was a pool in the room, Olympic-sized, with 3 people inside the water. And it was clear that the 2 girls were topless and not trying to hide it that well. The one boy in the water was most likely Naruto, since Hinata and Isaribi were recognizable, but it couldn't be determined if he was bare or not from their viewpoint. Are they really doing that? Sasami asked in disbelief. Only one way to find out. Fu said before she opened the door and walked inside. The sound of the door opening instantly caught the swimmer's attention and the 2 girls hid themselves under the water. Having fun, Naruto-kun? I'm surprised you didn't invite us. 2. Haku and Sasami entered too, blushes on their faces almost matching the ones on Naruto, Hinata, and Isaribi. The newcomers couldn't help but look at Naruto, who positioned his hands underwater to cover himself, letting them know he was bare too. Mind if we join you? We agreed to share him too. Fu asked as she got ready to take her own shirt off. Would it matter if we said no? Isaribi asked, her blush fading. Nope. Fu replied as she tore her red pack and white shirt off, much to Naruto's surprise and excitement. Then she took off her skirt, but slowly removed her bra and panties, keeping her eyes on Naruto as she did her striptease. She then jumped into the water, splashing everyone in the process. You coming in too? Hinata asked the other 2. Sasami and Haku shared a look. Why not? Haku said before she started taking off her own clothes, a bit slower and more bashful than her green-haired teammate had been. You joining us, Sasami? She asked after she removed her top but saw her orange-haired teammate hadn't done anything. Don't be a party pooper, Sasami. Fu said as she treaded water. Sorry, but I'm really hungry so I'm going to have to pass. Sasami nervously replied. Maybe next time though. She then left the room. Haku shrugged as she finished undressing and waded into the water. She must really be hungry to turn away this opportunity. Or just shy. So much for no one finding out, huh, Naruto-kun? Hinata whispered to her boyfriend. Yeah, and now all the other girls will want to try this with me. He replied. Fu engulfed him in a cushiony hug. And what's wrong with that, Naruto-kun? He froze up but didn't fight to get away. Honestly, you'd think a guy with 9 girlfriends would be more open to explore things like this. Yeah, Naruto-kun. Isaribi agreed. If we approve, then what's the harm? You're not dishonoring us this way. Naruto was released so he could answer. I'm just having a hard time believing you girls are really doing this. I figured it would be years before you let me see your bodies like this. Didn't you ever use your Niobe-Akugan to take a look under our clothes? Hinata asked. He shook his head negatively. Naruto-kun, relax. We all care deeply for you and like knowing you find us attractive and sexy. Don't be afraid to show it so often, for all our sakes. I know. I just don't want to go too far. He told them all. We won't. Isaribi reassured him with her own cushioned hug. But in the meantime, let's have some fun. Noon on the 5th day came, and the second portion of the Chunin exams was officially over. Teams had been coming to the tower over the past few days little by little. Naruto, Isaribi, and Hinata stood in the entrance room to the tower along with other teams. They recognized Sasami, Fu, Haku, Kin, Zaku, Dosu, Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro right away. They also saw Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba, along with 3 other unrecognizable teams from Konoha in the room with them. Although apparently one of them was a Hyuga, which unnerved Hinata a small amount. 4 teams from Konoha, 4 teams from elsewhere, making 24 passing gen in total. Naruto noted. I wonder what the third part will be and, if Subsonic is right, how it can be rigged. All the genin, some looking more worse for wear than others, stood in the room as Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, entered the room dressed in his robes with a pipe in his mouth. Naruto and Hinata did their best to avoid glaring at the old man, having heard many horrible things about this seemingly gentle old man who ultimately endangered some lives for his own sake. The 8 jounin who taught these teams, being Anko, Kabuto, Kurenai, Kakashi, Asuma, Gai, Genma, and Baki were already there, having been informed their genin made it this far, and watched from the balconies above, among a few other jounin from Konoha to stand guard for the Hokage like Ibiki and Yugao. Sarutobi cleared his throat before addressing the genin, who moved into a neatly arranged grid, with teammate being near teammate. Congratulations on making it this far, all of you. I'm impressed that such a large number got through the forest of death this time. Usually the numbers we get are single digit. And I'm impressed so many of you are first-timers. Your senseis should be proud. Before we head on to the third part of the exam, there's something I'd like you all to know. He continued, making the attending genin a bit more curious, even the Odo ones. It concerns the true reason we have these tests. The true reason? Many asked themselves. Why do you think all our nations take these tests together in a partnership? Sarutobi asked, pausing briefly to see if anyone could answer, even if wrongly. None bothered to, so he explained it. The official reasons are, to promote friendship between the nations and to raise the level of the shinobi of each. However, there's more to it than that. This exam is in fact a replacement for war between the 5 great nations. A few eyebrows were arched in the young audience. What does that mean? Tenten quietly asked herself. If you look back in history, you'll see most wars, be they big or small, happened between the 5 great nations, with the smaller ones occasionally getting caught in the middle. After the Third Great Shinobi War, the nations decided to seek an alternative to the wasteful and inconclusive warring. Their agreement ended up creating the Chunin exams. So is this for deciding who's a Chunin or not? Kiba asked. Yeah, this test does determine who's fit to advance to the next level of the ninja ranks and who isn't. However, there's another side to this test. Sarutobi answered. Each country's shinobi risk their lives to get their job done and show how strong and effective their ninja are. By doing so, they're making their countries look the most effective at what they do. And that pleases clients. Clients? Sakura asked herself. The third exam will have many witnesses watching. Among them will be daimyos of various lands and several influential individuals, all from which a ninja village get the work they need to make money. If the strength of a country is clear, that country will get more business and more income. And if the country is viewed as weak, they will lose business. It will send a message to clients and other villages that one village is stronger than another, which will help the economy and hopefully discourage any unnecessary bloodshed between villages. But why do we have to fight with our lives on the line just to pad other people's wallets then? Kankuro asked with a small amount of irritation in his voice evident. Sarutobi took another hit from his pipe before answering. The strength of a country is shown in the strength of its hidden village. And the strength of the hidden village is shown in the strength of the shinobi it produces. And the only way to determine a shinobi's true strength is in a life-threatening situation. Realization dawned on many of the genins' faces. Anyone can be a marksman when the target doesn't fire back, and anyone can be a winner when there's no risk involved. A true test of power and talent comes when the other side is just as determined to win as you are, and maybe a bit sneakier too. Only then can you say you truly have what it takes to be called strong. Other times, you're just lucky. I hate to say it, but he's right. Enko thought. This exam is set up to test how sharp your skills are when you really need to use them, and for countries to see each other's strengths. If your lives weren't at risk, then it would be nothing but a talent show. But then, why say it's about establishing friendship if we have to fight like that then? Ino asked as she raised her hand up to be noticed better. I was not lying, but you may have misinterpreted my words. The Sandame told her. Risking lives is a fact of the shinobi lifestyle. That is a key part of friendship and trust in the ninja lifestyle. It's much easier to trust someone and be their friend once you've risked your life and seen they're willing to cover your back for you. Makes sense. Sasami thought, among others. Now, before we begin the third round, I'll tell you one more thing. Sarutobi added. This is not just a test. It is a life-risking battle. Where your life, your future, and your village's honor are all on the line. You have much more to worry about than just whether or not you get promoted to a higher rank. Is that understood? He saw all genin nod. Good, now to explain the third test itself. He made a come here motion with his hand towards the balcony to his right. A Konoha jounin appeared before him and kneeled down. Cough. I will continue from here if you wish, Hokage-sama. By all means, Geku-san. Sarutobi told him. The jounin stood up and turned around to face the gathered genin. His Hitai-8 was modified to cover his whole scalp, leaving parts of his brown hair to hang from under it. His skin looked a little pale and he had dark shadows under his eyes, making him look tired or unhealthy. Hello everyone, I'm Heiate Geku, referee of the third test. Before we start, there's something I need to tell you all. His voice sounded strained, like he was close to losing it. He looks like he should be in a hospital. Hinata commented. What I need to say is that we're going to need a preliminary round before the third exam starts, to decide who gets to participate. Heiate told them. Preliminary round? Naruto thought, remembering Subsonic's warning. Why do we need that? Yeah, why can't we all pass? We made it this far after all. Shikamaru added, a bit angry at the idea. Because this year we have too many genin making it this far. Heiate answered, pleasing no one with it. So how is that a bad thing? Tamari asked. Like Hokage-sama said. Many people will be visiting to observe these upcoming matches, for both business consideration and entertainment. In past years, we've always scheduled and arranged the matches to take up only a few hours. Too many participants means the third test will take up a lot of time and could end up boring the clients and risking future business. So we have limited time to showcase the third exam, thus we need closer to 10 participants, not 20 like we have now. The rules state we must have a preliminary round now to thin the numbers down. Heiate told them. Hey, if a lot of people are coming here from other places, taking long trips to do so, wouldn't it be more worth their time and effort to host a long round rather than a short rushed one? I mean, if I were a client coming cross-country for entertainment, I'd be more eager to do so for 2 hours worth instead of just one. Naruto suggested, making several other genin, even Konoha ones, nod in agreement. Heiei shook his head. Sorry kid, but rules are rules, and we're already scheduled for the third round, so we can't fit 24 genin trying to get through it. Like it or not, we need to reduce this group in half. Naruto frowned. Yeah, and I bet I know which half they want removed. So anyway, the preliminary round will begin in a few minutes. Anyone who feels, they are not up to fighting within the hour should quit now and walk away, hoping for better luck next time. What? We gotta do this now? Kiba asked. Heiei nodded. The prelims will be one-on-one fighting in a free-for-all manner with no time limit, and they will be done right after we get this discussion over. So if anyone feels they simply don't have the energy to go on right away, then raise your hand and drop out. Oh, and at this point, only individual skills, will be tested, so one person can drop out but the rest of the team can continue on without harm. He paused for a while, but no one offered to drop out. Very well then. We shall move from here to the arena in the tower and begin a series of one-on-one fights, where both participants must fight as if in a real-life confrontation. Since we have exactly 24 participants, we will have 12 rounds. Still a little more than we prefer, but enough to squeeze by, and the winners, will advance to the third round. The battles basically have no rules, so victory is gained by either death or surrender in the other genin. And I'll jump in and, declare a victor if I feel the fight's going too far. Now, let's proceed to the arena. A few minutes later, everyone was in the fighting arena with a large bust of 2 arms making a ram sign on one of the walls. The jounin were up on the balconies again and the genin were down on the arena floor with Heiei. The matches will be selected randomly on the monitor overhead. We've had time to enter all your names in the random generator program, so we wouldn't need to input them now. The selected genin will need, to come down here and await my signal to start, while all others must wait on the balcony until their turn or to await the end of the prelims. Medical help will be provided to those that need it. Now, without further, ado, let's get started and see who's in the first round. All eyes went up on the monitor, which buzzed to life and had several characters randomly and very quickly flash on it. After 4 seconds it came to a stop and the first match was declared. Isaribi Meikai vs Sasuke Uchiha. Okay, will everyone except those with their, names declared please leave the arena floor? Heiei asked everyone. The group of genin split up and headed for the viewing alcoves, the 4 Konoha groups heading for the one at the east side of the room and the 3 Oto groups and Solo Suna group heading for the west side alcove. As they left, the 2 remaining genin each heard something from a passing teammate. Good luck Isaribi-chan, but remember, Subsonic has plans for this guy. Naruto told his purple-haired partner, who nodded. Show everyone how good you really are, Sasuke-kun. Sakura casually told her emo avenger, almost sounding like she herself would be judging him too, which made him frown a bit. When all non-participants left the ground level, Isaribi and Sasuke stood facing each other at opposing sides of the room. Heiei stood off to the side near the arms statue. Isaribi quickly looked over her foe. From what I've heard, this guy was considered the strongest in his class, but only because some genius in this village thought he'd throw a tantrum and leave if he was anything less. So he's probably not that strong, but I'm not going to assume he's feeble. And if what Subsonic told me is true, then I may have to use my non-marked trump card early to finish this quickly. Sasuke looked over her as well. I know I saw this girl back in Wave. So someone in her group, maybe even her, was the one to take my Sharingan away. And not only that, but she has this strange dark chakra she can use. I better fight her as if she was Itachi if I want to see how good I really am against someone like her. Are both contestants ready? Heiei asked. Both nodded and the Jounin raised his hand. Then, begin. He quickly dropped his hand and left the area. Sasuke took a stance but didn't make any move to attack. The Uchiha were by nature copiers and it was much easier to copy someone when you let them make the first move. Even though he didn't have his Sharingan anymore, this behavior was set into his mind from years of practice in the Uchiha style of fighting. He would await her attempt to strike, then counterstrike and from there do as he pleased to win. Isaribi took her own stance. She grabbed a pair of trench knives much like Asuma used and held them before herself, arms crossed, right in front of left, and shifted her legs so most of her weight was supported on her right leg and back. Kakashi looked on at the Oto Kunoichi curiously. Wait, I'm sure I've seen that stance before. But where? Knowing she had to make the first move, Isaribi charged at Sasuke who dodged to his right. Almost instantly, Isaribi slammed her left hand on the floor and spun on it to make a swinging arch kick from behind, her right leg out straight and her left leg bent back. This kick hit the Uchiha in the side rather forcefully. He grabbed her leg before she could withdraw it from his reach, but she countered by snapping her left leg forward to hit his own and offset his balance. Sasuke didn't fall over, but he released Isaribi's leg and allowed her to backflip away to get some distance. Weird, she has weapons but she didn't use them. And she moved like she knew I was going to dodge. Like I was supposed to dodge. Sasuke thought, analyzing the situation. She hit the bottom of my ribs with that kick and it still stings. I better try some ninjutsu to keep her at bay. Sasuke performed the horse and tiger hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He then exhaled a fireball the size of a person towards his opponent, more to see her reaction than actually defeat her. Isaribi surprised him and a few others by running towards the wall behind her, and rebound jumping off it and over the fireball. While in the air she pulled a scroll out of one of her pockets. You know how they say, fight fire with fire? Personally I prefer to fight fire with water. She landed, bit her thumb, and smeared the blood on a storage seal in the scroll. Tenten watched it with much curiosity while Kakashi was now almost sure he recognized Isaribi's fighting style. From out of the seal came a huge amount of water, gushing out like a fire hose. Sasuke instinctively backed up to avoid getting wet, but Isaribi didn't appear to be aiming the water, just letting the seal empty. Since there were no drains in the room, the water continued to rise very quickly, reaching Sasuke's knee level within 20 seconds and still showing no signs of stopping. I knew it. Kakashi told him. Knew what, sensei? Sakura asked. That girl's fighting style originated in Land of Water. It's called Asayataki, the crushing cascade taijutsu. It's designed so the user's movements mimic the nature of violent water. The fighter can make a heavy impact yet remains nimble enough to keep moving after any hit or miss. Accuracy must be sacrificed for the sake of maximizing damaging impact. Kakashi explained. So whenever she attacks, she's more focused on how hard she's hitting rather than where she's hitting. But how could someone who's clearly not a Kiri-nin even know this style? I only know of it thanks to my past experiences. The cycloptic Jounin asked himself. Then there's no problem, right? Sasuke-kun's too tough for her to hit. The Pinkette claimed/asked. Normally, but there's a reason she brought all that water with her, Sakura. Kakashi told his student, making her wonder what he meant. Asayataki was designed so that Kiri-nin could fight both in and out of water. In a watery environment like a sea or lake, they have a really big advantage. Sasuke's going to have a real tough time now. The water finally came to a stop, but the entire room was more than halfway full of water. Apparently the door into the room was sealed at the bottom and edges so water couldn't leak out that water with it being closed. Sasuke tread water but looked at Isaribi in a mixture of awe and anger when he saw her calmly stand atop the water. What the hell? How can she stand on water like that? Sakura asked. Everyone who heard her, minus Kakashi and Kiba, gave her an, "Are you serious?" look. "You mean you don't know the water-walking technique?" Ino asked. "You mean anyone can do that?" Sakura asked, genuinely surprised by the mere notion. Genma, the sensei for Team 8 of Konoha, gave Kakashi a bothered look. "Kakashi-san, you mean to tell me that you actually nominated your team for this exam without even teaching your students that?" He could tell by Sasuke's emergence in water that the Uchiha didn't know it either. "What the fuck were you thinking? I thought this would wake them up to the realities of the shinobi world, let them see the world isn't going to act like their dreams are the only ones that matter." Kakashi defended himself. "Even so, that's pretty foolish, and I think you can be brought up on charges for knowingly endangering your genin students," Genma replied. Meanwhile, as the Konoha shinobi were discussing amongst themselves, the fight between genin continued on. Isaribi took a breath and let herself sink under the surface. Sasuke kept his eyes on her, wondering just what she could do in all this water. She's yet to do a water jutsu, so maybe that's not the reason for this. Also, this tastes like salt water. Why did she use salt water? Isaribi got next to the wall and got ready to spring off it, the momentum vital to her next attack. Tactic 1 Piranha Bite. She sprung off the wall with her arms forward, knives ready. Sasuke kicked his legs to defend himself when she got closer, but she still managed to make several cuts on the submerged parts of his body. Tactic 2 Shark Bite. She added as she swam forward and past him, turning around to attack him in a similar manner from behind. Isaribi came up for air and Sasuke got to the wall. Unable to stand on the now bloodied water, he put chakra in his feet to stand on the wall. It was tough to remain horizontal like that, so he crouched down, keeping his eye on the girl. "Damn, there's no way my fire jutsus can dry up all this water before she attacks again. And I'm betting she's got even more stored away." Isaribi swam to the floor and readied herself to spring from the bottom. She then clapped her hands together, making her trench knives held close like a two-point spear head. Sasuke saw this and knew he had to dodge or suffer a nasty wound. Tactic 3 Dolphin Bite. Isaribi said before she rocketed herself upwards and out of the water like a dolphin. Sasuke jumped away from the wall and while upside down in the air he made two hand signs. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu. Unfortunately for him the Oto Kunoichi dove back under before he could hit, making the fireball only damage the wall. Both seem good at dodging, although she's apparently better. Kurenai thought as she watched. Sasuke landed in the water and Isaribi looked ready to attack again. Think Sasuke, if I could just stand on the water like she did I'd be able to fight back. How do I? Wait, maybe it's like the tree walking technique. Just put chakra on the bottom of my feet until I float. I've gotta try it. Sasuke flipped over and came up for air. Once he was at the surface, he forced a lot of chakra into his feet, making his whole body rise quickly. After a moment he stopped and used the regular amount for tree walking, and it worked. But only for a moment and he sank again. Amazing. He almost had it with no instructions. Too bad he didn't know to modify the chakra flow to match the ever-changing surface of the water. Kakashi thought, impressed with his student. He wanted to tell Sasuke how to perform the technique correctly, but doing so would count as interference and automatically disqualify the Uchiha. Also, even if he could tell Sasuke how, it was highly unlikely that his student would be able to use it before his opponent continued her aquatic assault. Seeing he could not stand on water right away, and seeing Isaribi another piranha bite attack, Sasuke thought up every countermeasure he could do, and reached one logical response. He sighed and looked angry with closed eyes. Proctor, I forfeit. What? Many people from Konoha asked. Considering how proud Sasuke was, forfeiting always seemed like the last thing he'd ever do. Hayate reappeared and stood on the water, making Isaribi stop her preparations and come up for air. You sure about that? Cough, Sasuke nodded, still looking upset. I hate to admit it, but there's nothing I can do to defeat her like this. I'd rather deal with the humiliation of surrender than the humiliation of defeat. Okay, winner by forfeit Isaribi Meikai. Hayate announced, making the Otonin cheer for their comrade. Now could someone, cough, please get rid of this water so we can have, cough cough, our next match? I'll do it. Isaribi said before pulling out her scroll and resealing all the water away back into it, leaving everyone in it unaffected but dry again. Once done she pocketed it and the arena was set for the next round. I gotta ask, why did you use salt water? Sasuke asked. Isaribi shrugged. No reason, I just had it available. I could have easily used fresh water too, but oh well. Next match will be announced soon. Hayate told everyone as Sasuke and Isaribi left the fighting area. Isaribi got a pat on the back from her teammates, unable to hug Naruto for fear of that being used against them later on. Way to go Isaribi-chan. Never a doubt in my mind. The young man told her. Thanks Naruto-kun. I'm actually a bit amazed he couldn't walk on water, though it's not like I could drag him under if he could. She replied with a smile, resisting the urge to kiss him. Sasuke meanwhile was avoiding looking at anyone, except Kakashi whom he looked at angrily. You should have taught me more. You should probably get those wounds looked at. You're still dripping blood. Kakashi responded. Sasuke snorted. Maybe I will. Ha! The rookie of the year, beaten up by a girl. Kiba said mockingly, earning him a glare from his teammates. I hope you have to fight a kunoichi then Kiba. Sasuke stated before walking away to the infirmary. The screen started working, and within seconds the next two names were displayed. Kintsuchi vs Shino Aburame. The two contenders received knowing nods from their teammates and went down to the arena. Ready? Hayate asked, awaiting any sign of wish delay and receiving none. Begin. He then left the area. Shino made no effort to strike, so Kin chose to make the first move. She withdrew some senbon and threw them towards the Aburame, who easily dodged and noticed the bells attached. Odd, her throw was amateurish, as if she wanted me to dodge. As for the bells, the logical answer to having such a giveaway is she wants me to hear them. It must be a decoy or a setup for a grander tactic. Shino analyzed, wondering how to respond. He stealthily released a few bugs, few being a general term in comparison to the true size of his hive, and had them move to behind the girl without flying or moving in a large noticeable group. I'm glad Kabuto-sensei taught us a bit about the clans of this village. Kin thought as she eyes a couple approaching beetles. This guy's part of that creepy bug clan. So he should be difficult to trick, but not impossible. Maybe I should test him with a lower rank genjutsu just to see how it works on his type. If it doesn't, I'll try something stronger. Kin threw a few more senbon with bells attached at Shino, who ducked and rolled to his right to avoid them. Kin quickly added another wave of senbon and Shino dodged again without rolling away. Two of the needles struck his left arm, making him wince and grab at the injury. He saw these needles had no bells. So that's why she had bells attached. She wanted me to hear them so she could later add a soundless attack at the same time when my mind was preoccupied. Clever, but it won't be effective for long. He then noticed her fingers flexing a little in a pattern and got wary. I better finish her off rather than see what her village has to offer. He sent a signal to his insects via pheromones telling them to proceed with the attack. However, his insects just laid in waiting. What's wrong? Then he noticed there were 6 smiling kin standing before him. Just noticed, did ya? The kins cockily asked in unison. I'm aware that insect central nervous systems are too simplistic to be affected by genjutsus, but the human central nervous system isn't. And even Aburame are wired the human way, am I right? So it's a genjutsu rather than a clone jutsu. That explains why I'm having trouble communicating with my hive. But when did she cast it? And how could I get caught in it? Shino asked himself. One of the weaknesses of the Aburame was that they needed sharp and focused minds to effectively control their hives and the governing pheromones, or else they'd probably be eaten from the inside out. That's the reason why they always acted so stoic, their physiology depended on it. Thus they were vulnerable to genjutsu since having their perception altered left their mind subconsciously unable to manage the hive. That's also the reason they wore sunglasses most of the time, to minimize the risk of being caught in a genjutsu. He then noticed there were strings attached to the fingers of each kin's right hand that were also attached to the belled senbon embedded in the wall behind him. Kin just smiled, pleased with her work. Looks like he hasn't caught on to how I'm doing this. Genjutsu are mind-affecting illusions that use the senses as a means to access the central nervous system. Sight isn't the only sense that can be tricked. Kami blessed the guy who realized sound jutsus work perfectly for genjutsu. Shino didn't like the situation he was in. He couldn't tell which target was real, his hive couldn't respond, and his opponent looked like she was waiting for him to make a move so she could counter it. Hoping it wouldn't be a wasted effort, Shino withdrew a tanto hidden within his right sleeve and swung it down upon the threads near him on both sides. I'm glad Genma-sensei gave me this for emergencies. With the threads cut, the ringing from the bells stopped and Kin's genjutsu faded. Shino could now see just one of her and communicate with his bugs again. Now Kin didn't like the situation. I guess I should have just finished him off rather than testing him. This may cost me. Damn it. The steadily growing sound of buzzing behind her made her nervous but not daunted. She performed 5 quick hand signs. Ninja art, sound epicenter. She clapped her hands together and a small sonic boom occurred, making Shino's bugs tumble and stop advancing. Even Shino felt a little disoriented from the shock with his ears ringing, while some of the observers felt some vibrations through the floor. What was that? Ino asked as she gripped the railing until the vibrations faded. Amazing. Instead of wasting her time on another genjutsu, she created a sonic boom all around herself to disrupt my hive directly. Attacking her is going to be harder than I thought. Shino told himself. Thinking he was out of options, Shino grabbed all his kunai and started throwing them one by one with each hand. Kin grabbed her own kunai and started deflecting them, the impact from the collisions causing her to take a step or two back still. She wanted to throw some of her own, but Shino seemed to have no end of his throwing weapons. Guess I just have to wait till he runs out, she thought. Then Kin started feeling itchy and weak. What the? That was when she heard the buzzing sound again, and her eyes widened in shock. He distracted me and kept my hands busy long enough to tell his bugs what to do. Oh crap. She looked down and saw her lower body covered in chakra-eating beetles and they were spreading. Fortunately at least Shino had stopped his kunai assault. Get them off me. She tried swatting them all off. It's no use. Those insects will eat your chakra within moments. You can either surrender and walk away with enough to feel semi-comfortable, or continue until you pass out. Shino told her. Kin already felt the effect of the drain, causing her to fall to her knees. I can't surrender. Not here, not now. With her remaining strength, she pulled out a shuriken and threw it at him and then fell to the ground completely. The shuriken simply grazed by Shino's left ear but missed him. He didn't even try to dodge. Hey-eyed Kin for a moment before speaking up. Winner by defeat Shino Aburame. Shino recalled his bugs as medics came by to take Kin to the infirmary to recover. When he started walking away, he heard a small tearing sound and saw his hitayate fall off his forehead, with a cut on the left side of the band. Tearing right through it and a few cut hairs falling with it. Interesting, even with her drained like that she came that close to hitting me. Had her aim been any better, I probably would have lost an eye right then. He knelt down to retrieve it, wondering how long it would take to repair the headband and how good Kin's aim really was when she actually wanted to hit her target, then went back up to join his team. I hope Kin-chan's going to be alright, Naruto said. She will be, Kabuto told him. The Abure may be skilled at making their enemies go down quickly, but they rarely do long-term damage to their targets. She's just going to need a good night's rest, then she'll be back to normal. The screen flashed and the next contestant's name were selected. Neji Hyuga vs Hinata Hibiki. At first Hinata smiled when she saw her name on the monitor announcing her turn to compete. But that instantly turned into a frown when she saw the name of her opponent, and a growl in the back of her soon could be heard by those close to her. Naruto heard the growl and made her face him, her expression immediately softening at seeing him. Hina-chan, I understand your anger. So please, for me, don't go overboard with it. Use it if you have to, but don't go crazy. I'll try, she replied, and then walked off. What was that about? Zaku asked. Let's just say she could not have been given a worse opponent, Enko told him. Naruto nodded. Yeah. She'll have a hard time winning this one. Don't you have faith in your girlfriend, man? Zaku asked. Dosu was listening in on this with his teammate but stayed silent and watched the Hyuga boy come down the stairs. Of course I do. But there's a problem, Naruto answered. Hina-chan has issues with the Hyuga clan. Because of that, she may let her anger get the best of her and that will affect her performance. Also, there's no way for her to fight him effectively without revealing her eyes, which will cause problems for our village sooner than we want. Hinata was still wearing some blue contacts to hide the true color of her eyes, but she couldn't hide the bulging veins as effectively. So she can't win? Isaribi asked, concerned for her teammate. Naruto shook his head. No, she can win. It'll be hard, but she has one big advantage here. What's that? Zaku asked. Watch and see. The disguised Jinchuriki told the two-armed boy. Down in the arena, Hinata and Neji were staring each other down. Neji stood a little relaxed but completely attentive and ready to slip into his Juken stance and finish this. His expression was calculating and leering, as if dismissing his opposition as worth his time and effort but ready to get rid of them anyway. Hinata, however, was tense and anxious, her fists balled and her expression offensive and wary. She looks like someone eager to shed my blood. Too bad she's not favored enough to do so, Neji told himself. I'd rather it be someone else, but at least I finally get to test my fighting style against one of these guys, Hinata told herself. Ready? Begin, Hayate declared, starting the match. You should forfeit this match, Neji calmly yet strongly recommended to Hinata. And why the hell should I? She asked. Because you're not favored, he told her, causing some confusion in many others that heard this. There are millions of people in just the elemental nations. Maybe more beyond their borders. Do you really think the gods favor us all equally? They don't. Some people are more favored than others and get the best in life while others get lucky occasional or no luck at all. You are not one of the favored ones, so you have little chance of defeating someone like me, so why waste both our time? Hinata was silent for a few seconds but soon scoffed. I'm not favored by the gods. Who are you to speak for them? You're not part of the clergy from what I can tell. And what makes you so damn certain they like you more than me? I know I am because I was blessed with an impossible miracle, thus showing the gods favor my life over many others. You cannot possibly measure up to that, he told her. If you don't even know me, how can you be so certain of that? Hinata asked as she slipped into her stance, not wanting to continue this discussion any longer. Rather than take the Hyuga classic stance, she had been taught to stand like a kendoist without a sword and her hands stretched out like a Hyuga would. Neji saw this and got into the Hyuga stance, ready to fight with his Byakugan active. This fight will prove it better than my words can. My thoughts exactly. Hinata said. I guess there's no point in applying a genjutsu to cover myself here. I'm actually kind of amazed he didn't notice me using my eyes during the written test. Maybe he had other things on his mind, or maybe he did notice and may or may not have told someone about me. Either way, I better get this over with quickly. She then activated her own Byakugan. Neji's look of hostility deepened when he saw this. Oh, it was you that I saw with my clan's eyes. How did you acquire them? The same way you did. Then why are you not allied with Konoha like all Hyugas? Neji asked as he rushed towards her, eager to make her immobile but able to speak for a little longer. Hinata rushed at him too and the two started exchanging blows. The real question is, why should I be allied with Konoha? And didn't you see the monitor? I'm not a Hyuga. My name is Hibiki. Neji felt her chakra-covered fingers connect a few times, but his did too. It will be over soon. I can hit faster, so she can't possibly weaken me before I weaken her. Since she's not even from Konoha, that means she couldn't possibly have the training needed to be good with the Juken. Bitch is probably a bastard child from someone who out of village who managed to have a one-night stand with a Hyuga and somehow kept the pregnancy secret until now. Hinata surprised Neji by jumping away from him to gain some space and then started poking her own arms and torso. So surprised was he failed to notice she was striking all the points he had already struck. When she finished, she smirked dangerously and went back in for the close-up fight again. In the infirmary of the tower, Kin was placed on a small bed to recover by a medic Nin and made comfortable. The medic, one who had just a moment ago patched up Sasuke, checked her over as someone else entered the room. Anything interesting about this one? The medic shook her head. Sorry, Ibiki-san. My diagnostic just shows chakra depletion standard for an Aburame attack. She'll recover within the hour. Why would you be interested if you don't mind me asking? Ibiki stepped up to the bed with the resting Kunoichi. It's actually Hokage-sama who wants answers. He just asked me to see what I could find out on my own when Genin from this new village had to go here. You know, see if I can get some information from them that could indicate any threats towards us. But wouldn't that be considered a violation of the international Chunin exam laws? The medic asked. Having someone from the TNI department take a foreign shinobi into custody without legitimate reason would be open grounds for an international incident to arise. Not if we find something. Ibiki answered. The medic wasn't convinced that easily. But on what grounds do you have to justify this if forced to? Saying, because the Hokage was curious wouldn't work. It didn't work when the Mizukage tried that approach years ago. Ibiki gave the medic his trademark frightening grin, the one that says he was in complete control of your fate from this point on. Who's going to force us to testify anything? If no one says a word about this, and her village is told she unfortunately suffered worse than expected, who's the wiser? The medic looked disgusted. You mean you're going to dash? Ibiki unleashed some ki. Unless you want to lose your career and freedom on the charge of interfering with TNI work, you're going to forget everything that you just heard. The medic nodded. The sound of a door opening immediately captured the attention of the two ninja and they turned to see the approacher. In strolled a casual-looking Kabuto. Hi. He friendly greeted with a small wave. I'm the jounin of this girl's squad and I thought I'd check on her. I'm not sure how you can. The medic told him, still a bit fearful from Ibiki earlier. I'm a trained medic too. I'd just like to give her a look over personally. As her sensei, that is my right? Kabuto replied. Ibiki didn't look happy but tried to avoid downright glaring. Damn it, there's no way I can just make him leave without making him and the rest from him village suspicious. Once that happens, I won't be able to get anything done. Hearing no argument, Kabuto got next to his kunoichi student and looked her over, first without a jutsu then with the aid of diagnostic jutsu. Ah, as I expected, just a strong case of chakra loss. A trademark of the Aburame clan if I'm right. And how do you know that? Ibiki asked. Kabuto was anything but intimidated by the scarred man. The Aburames have been part of Konoha for a long time. You didn't honestly expect that no one from outside the village wouldn't at least be aware of their skills, did you? I mean, you must be somewhat aware of what a few clans outside Konoha can do, right? Sound logic. Ibiki thought, unable to find a hole in what Kabuto just said. But then he thought of a way to make the Oto Jounin leave. Say, shouldn't you be with your other students for their matches soon? Kabuto took a seat on a chair in the room. Oh, I already gave them a pep talk. My fellow Jounin asked me to come here for any other injured genin from our village to see if I treat them since I'm the only medic in our group. He saw the interrogator still look displeased. There's no law against that, is there? He asked it more like he was joking. Oh no, Jounin sensei have every right to check up on their injured genin in preliminary fights. The medic answered. Ibiki mentally groaned. Thank you so much, you fool. Now he'll never leave and we've lost an opportunity to find any threat to us. Got any coffee? Kabuto asked. The fight between Hinata and Neji went on as strong as ever, neither side backing down. But onlookers started to notice something. Neji appeared to be sweating more and out of breath as he fought on. What's going on? How can she be wearing me out faster than I'm wearing her out? He asked him as he gained some distance in hopes of briefly regaining strength. Neji then bothered to notice the chakra at Hinata's fingers. He saw it was pointed, and that made him worry. The juken of the Hyuga was designed so chakra tips on the fingers could strike the tenketsu of the victim and affect the flow and access of chakra they had along with muscular mobility. When the chakra points were blunted, they closed the tenketsu and numbed the muscles. When the chakra points were sharp, they opened the tenketsu and stimulated the muscles. Hinata didn't give Neji much of a chance to regain himself and continued her assault. Now Neji was on the defensive, something he hated doing because it made him feel weak. But he couldn't avoid it as he was feeling. Drained was the only way he could describe it. I gotta finish this now, he told himself. 8 trigrams 64 palms. He shouted as he started a last-ditch effort to remove her ability to fight back. He struck fast enough that Hinata couldn't block all the hits. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 64 palms. He said as he counted down the strikes and sent her skidding back and away from him. Neji-kun looks really worn out. Even more so than after a normal workout. I wonder what she did to him. Tenten thought as she looked over her panting, barely standing teammate. So what's the big surprise here? Zaku asked Naruto. Oh, you'll see, he responded. Hinata stood up and dusted herself off, much to Neji's shock. Wow, not bad. But you could do better. How the hell could she be so unaffected by that maneuver? It's impossible. Neji asked himself in shock and to a small degree horror. Using one arm, Hinata struck several points on herself. Neji's Byakugan saw she was reopening the tenketsu he had managed to close just seconds ago. She did look a little worn out too, but nowhere near as bad as he did. She then looked at him confidently and allowed herself to softly laugh at his expense. Smug bastard hasn't caught onto my fighting style yet. Good, 'cause that's how I'll beat him. He's under the presumption that since I have his family's eyes I'm supposed to fight like them, and that's what he's prepared himself for. This guy's going down. Her interior tone of voice clearly indicated she was enjoying this. Nice trick. Here's one of my own, she told him as she came back up to him. He tried to get away but couldn't move fast enough. What really worried him was that he now struggled to keep his Jujutsu active and body standing, and that was before the approaching attack. 5 trigrams 64 needles. She then struck him much like how he previously struck her. In fact, to the unaware observers, it was an identical attack. But this time Hinata didn't announce how many hits she was making. When she finished, Neji fell face first onto the stone floor of the arena. The rest of Team Guy looked at this with wide eyes, having never seen Neji go down so fast. Nor expecting it to happen due to an attack so much like his own. Who is she? Tenten asked herself in shock and awe. Neji's flames of youth have just been overpowered by her own. Maybe she could privilege me with a friendly spar sometime in the future. Lee commented with interest and curiosity. Someone from outside the village has a Byakugan and knows how to use it, albeit somewhat differently than Konoha's Hyuga can. Guy noted with complete seriousness. This could pose a major problem. And where there's one, there's bound to be more. See? Naruto asked Zaku. How did she do that? Can't say. You never know who's listening. The disguised Jinchuriki stated. Naruto of course knew the facts behind Hinata's fighting style. Years of practicing with her to use his own Neo-Byakugan with only her mother to instruct them gave them a shared taijutsu. But it wasn't the Juken, no, this new style original to Oto was called the Suridoken, the sharp fist. While the Juken made regular use of blunt chakra tips on the fingers to close tenketsu points, the Suridoken made regular use of sharp chakra tips on the fingers to open the tenketsu instead. To a Hyuga, this approach sounded meaningless, but it did have its uses. Having the tenketsu forced open gave the victim an unexpected surge of chakra bursting from the body. This affected their chakra control and for all basic purposes made them bleed chakra, and the more tenketsu forced open, the more chakra they bled. Until they reached the point where their control was shot and the added effect of using chakra for jutsus and movements while regularly bleeding some on the side forced them into a chakra depletion state, much like a large loss of blood would feel. This was what had happened to Neji. Hinata had forced open many of his tenketsu but he paid it no mind because he had been expecting her to close them instead. When he closed her own, she easily reopened them to keep her access to her own chakra. He did not, and with the continued use of his Byakugan and Juken strikes along with the damage she had inflicted, Neji basically suffered much like he would have if Shino attacked him instead at a slow pace. This was also why Hinata was mostly unharmed by his 64 palm technique. He had less chakra than he thought and his control over it was unstable. He barely even created half the damage he tried to inflict on her. Neji tried to get back up, struggling to get on his hands and knees, all 4 limbs wobbling as he pushed himself up. Damn it, I feel like I'm almost out of chakra. What did she do? Hinata calmly walked towards behind Neji and swiftly kicked him in the crotch from behind, the position he was in making it quite convenient for her to do so. The Hyuga prodigy instantly screamed in a high pitch and fell back down on the floor, clutching himself when he landed. Kiba winced. Man, that girl just loves to do that. I pity whoever she takes as a lover. Hinata then came back to Neji's front and lifted his head up by grabbing his hair. So you think the gods like you more than others, do you? Check mythology bub, even demigods and heroes had enemies and bad luck. Winner, cough, Hinata Hibiki. Heiate declared before she could do anything more. The aforementioned Kunoichi smiled and released her grip on Neji's hair. Medics quickly rushed in and put Neji on a stretcher as Hinata walked back to her team. Atta girl. Loved the finishing move. Enko complimented. Naruto resisted the urge to kiss her, aware she would already have enough eyes on her now. You were great, Hina-chan. Just don't use those feet on me someday please. Hinata chuckled. Of course not. There's no way I'm going to damage something I know I'm going to put to use later on. How much later on? Anko and Isaribi asked and leaned in a bit to hear better. Hinata didn't answer. Instead she just leaned on the railing next to Naruto and looked at the monitor to see the next name. Anko leaned in too. Alright, don't tell us. But be careful, Hinata. Now that your eyes have been revealed, Konoha's going to be out for your blood. For this moment on you're not to be alone for even a second. I don't care if you have to share the shower with someone, you are not going to be left unprotected from now on. Sure, sensei. Hinata replied with a grin. But that means you can't object to me showering with Naruto then. The mentioned young man struggled to avoid blushing. As your sensei, and as his older sister, I can. Anko claimed. Would you though? Hinata deviously asked, toying with the woman. You think you're ready for something like that? Anko asked. Oh, I know she is. Isaribi commented. Anko arched an eyebrow. Okay, what the heck does that mean? Shoo, the next match is about to be announced. Hinata said, changing the subject. Meanwhile, Sarutobi took a much longer than normal inhale from his pipe. The Hyugas are not going to like hearing this. The Hyuga were downright paranoid when it came to keeping their bloodline under wraps. The caged bird seal was proof enough of that, and they had raised quite a commotion over the time Yakumo attempted to steal one of their own but got both the kidnapper and the victim killed in the process. In fact, that same commotion was what made Neji into the man he was today. With Yakumo unable to blame the death of their ninja on Konoha and thus unable to threaten them for compensation, and Konoha unable to prove that act had been a deliberate plan of the Raikage, who denied he had ordered any such act, the two villages were forced into a standstill. However, the problem didn't end there. The first heir to the main house of the Hyuga was dead, and within a week Hayashi's wife and second child were listed as dead, confirmed by Tsunade, whom they had been taken to for medical treatment. Sarutobi tried to insist Hayashi remarry and gain a new heir for the sake of the clan, but apparently having lost his wife and two daughters took a heavier toll on the Hyuga head than expected. Hayashi was seen the next day hanging from a noose. With that, the Hyuga council chose his twin brother Hisashi to become the new clan head and removed the caged bird seal from his forehead. Neji had his own removed and he became heir to the main house. The young boy never forgot his time with the seal, and his father called this change and gained freedom a miracle, a blessing from the gods. Neji took that to heart in a wrong way and grew up with his assumed belief that in heaven's eyes he was more worthy of experiencing blessings than others were. I'll have to deal with this after the matches here end. But one thing's for sure, that girl's not going to leave anyone's sight in this village from now on. Sarutobi told himself, trying to plan how he could take her into custody legally. I sure hope the Hyugas don't say, damn the law, and take matters into their own hands over this. I'd rather not risk war with someone we know nothing about. Especially someone who can drag the Kazekage into this. The monitor buzzed and the next matchup was revealed. Tamari Sabaku vs Sakura Haruno. Down in the arena, Tamari and Sakura stood facing each other. Tamari still had her fan strapped on her back, but could remove it at any time. Sakura had no visible weapons, but her fists were untightly clenched. The pinkette looked up and saw that Sasuke, now sporting a few bandages, had returned from his patch-up in time to see her match. She softly smiled, but it wasn't her usual mindless fangirl smile for the boy. Tamari was being a tad bit more professional right then. So far there's no info on this girl. No ninja background, no area of expertise, no defining fighting style. That makes her sound weak and an easy target, but then again she did get this far. She must have some trick she's kept hidden from our sources and has to display now. I wonder if Forehead really stands a chance here. Ino thought, feeling a little worried about her semi-friend. Without her blind crush on Sasuke now, the platinum blonde hoped to restart their old friendship. But with Sakura still showing some devotion to the Uchiha, she hesitated to do so. Sasuke himself just watched with disinterest. Kakashi pulled out his book and Kiba watched the two girls, but unlike the others he looked interested in this match. I sure hope this turns into a catfight. Although something tells me that other girl is less likely to let that happen. Ready? Begin. Hayate announced. Sakura swiftly unleashed a dozen shuriken at once, her aim not good enough for all of them to actually hit Tamari. The Suna Kunoichi used a set of metal guards on her forearms to deflect the throwing stars that actually would have hit her otherwise. Sakura then performed the basic clone jutsu and ran at her foe in hopes of confusing her long enough to land a hit. Tamari almost felt insulted by this strategy. Moaning, she pulled out her fan, without opening it, and swung it at all three visible Sakuras like it was a bat. The clones vanished and the original skidded away towards the armed statue. Tamari then leaned against her fan and waited for her opponent to recover and retaliate, inspecting her nails as she waited. It's probably not a good idea to not take a fight seriously, Fu thought as she watched Tamari act like this. But from what I've seen from this pink-haired girl back in Wave, I'm not too worried. Sakura got back on her feet, wiped a little blood off the corner of her lip, and stared at her hand where the smear was. Look what you did, you thug. You didn't really expect to go through life as a kunoichi and not bleed, did you? Tamari asked. Heck, if I got a Rio for every time I bled during training or on the job, I'd probably be able to buy some replacement blood from the hospital. It was a bit on an exaggeration, but the point was valid nonetheless. Sakura pulled out a kunai but didn't throw it. Instead, she tried to rush at Tamari quicker, hoping she wouldn't defend herself as well this time. Tamari just struck her fist out preemptively and Sakura couldn't stop herself in time, so she ran right into the fist and basically gave herself a punch in the gut. After impact, Sakura fell to her knees and gasped to regain the wind knocked out of her. Tamari was starting to get upset over this display. Okay, either she's testing me out before she brings out the heavy hitter, or she got this far on luck and the effort of her teammates rather than actual skill. Is that the best you can do? She asked tauntingly in hopes that her opponent would start to give her a challenge. Sakura picked up the kunai she dropped after the impact and swung it to try and give Tamari a gash on her calves. She managed to cut the girl, but the mesh on Tamari's right leg weakened the damage for one wound. The Suna Kunoichi responded by kicking the pinkette away, not creating much distance this time. Before Sakura could get up, Tamari lifted her still-closed fan and jabbed it on Sakura's back, pinning her down. Listen, Pinky, I'm getting bored. I was training back when you were learning to tie your own shoelaces. So either fight me seriously with all you've got, or do us both a favor and surrender. Sakura felt enraged by the twin comments that she was weak and should surrender this match. I will not surrender. I was the top kunoichi of my class. I got the best grades out of everyone. I can beat someone like you. Prove it. Tamari proclaimed with another application of force on the girl's spine. Sakura let out a pained hiss and struggled to get away. She only did because Tamari let her go in hopes of seeing her actually try something unexpected now. Sakura rolled away, back on her feet and rubbed her back. She looked bruised, worn out and out of breath, but still determined to continue. You've got spunk, I'll give you that. Tamari claimed. But I'm guessing you're a thinker, not a fighter. That won't do you much good here. A good ninja is both, not just one. This coming from someone who's been fighting dirty? Sakura venomously asked. You've got to be kidding me. Tamari told herself. We're ninja for Kami's sake, girl. We don't fight fair. Do you think this is some mere schoolyard fight where the worst thing you can do is put bubblegum in someone's hair? Not that anyone would notice if I did that to you. She paused for a quick snicker then continued. Well, it isn't. Didn't you hear the old man or the chronic cougher? We're to go all out for these matches and treat them as life or death or else. Fairness has no place here. But do you have to be so rough? It's just a test after all. Sakura asked. Tamari groaned in utter annoyance. You're an embarrassment to your village, you know that? Something about that statement sparked a new rush of anger in Sakura. Hearing it made her remember a few times when she had been angry. Like when Ami and her friends had ganged up on her all the time just before she met Ino. Or when Sasuke told her she was annoying after their team had been announced. Not to mention the time when her aunt Natsumi told her to just forget Sasuke overnight after years of practically shoving praise for the boy down the Pinkette's throat. All these times and more were instances when Sakura felt angry but suppressed it. She couldn't fight Ami's gang back for fear of losing, she couldn't allow herself to be mad at Sasuke even if he did offend her with his rude dismissals, and her sense of loyalty to her aunt made it hard for her to argue back. She ignored it all as best she could to prevent herself from ending up in an unfavorable situation, but Sakura still got mad at it all. Her best way to channel her aggression was in her tendencies to be loud and punch-happy when bothered. And right. Now, Tamari had triggered that very response. Shut up. Sakura screeched, making Tamari and several others cover their ears. I am a smart, capable woman who does not deserve to be trampled on like this. I deserve respect, love, and the best out of life, and I will get them, one way or the other. Then she charged forward to strike at the blonde kunoichi when her ears were still covered. Tamari's hands may have been occupied, but her legs weren't, and she tried a swing kick with her left leg to block the pink banshee. Sakura stopped herself long enough to avoid the hit but continued after the leg passed. This time she managed to hit Tamari with a fist in the left eye, making the Tsunade tumble backwards. Ha! Take that, bitch! Sakura shouted triumphantly. Tamari rubbed her injured eye. So that's your ninja strategy? A few basic moves until you get pissed, then beat the crap out of someone? Maybe you should have been a sumo wrestler instead. Sakura went into another blind rage and tried to overpower Tamari, but the blonde gave the Pinkette an uppercut with her fan like she was swinging a golf club. Sakura took the full force of the hit and flew upwards and back a bit. She landed near the entrance of the room and almost passed out. Heiei waited a minute for Kakashi's kunoichi student to stand back up, but she remained motionless. Winner, Tamari Sabaku. The declared winner smiled with the praise she got from her teammates and friends. She turned to look at her downed opponent and came up to her. Listen, do yourself a favor and either get some serious training or stop being a shinobi altogether. As you are now, your skills are pathetic and no one would respect you. Sakura was practically foaming at the mouth over that bit of snide advice, but Tamari just turned away without a care. Unable to coherently form any words, she got up as best she could and pulled out a kunai with a tag on it. She didn't care if this would go against any rules, she was already taken out of the test and her pride meant more to her anyway. Sakura threw the tagged kunai at the Suna kunoichi's back. Heiei rushed to intercept, knowing this uncalled-for attack could cause big problems between the two villages. However, Tamari turned around and swung her fan like a bat, sending the kunai to the ceiling. It embedded itself in the stone and the tag triggered, creating a flash of light and a surge of wind that would have knocked the girl off her feet had it actually hit her. Big mistake, girl. Heiei told the Pinkette as sternly as he could with his available volume. The fight's over. Continuing it will result in a penalty for you. But this is not debatable. Now get some rest. Hokage-sama will decide what to do with you later. Heiei told her. Medics came and took Sakura away while Tamari went back to her team with an unhappy look. What's wrong, sis? Kankuro asked. What do you think? I didn't even need to open my fan to beat her. This was such a letdown for me. Naruto came over to cheer her up. You did good, Mari-chan. He used that nickname for her a lot in their letters as pen pals. Although it was barely a challenge. She nodded, smiling at him but still looking bothered by the lack of excitement she had been expecting. I really hope the third test is better than this. Even if I have to fight you, Naruto-kun. Don't go easy on me though. The other girls said that too. He replied. The monitor started buzzing and the next fight was announced. Naruto Urashi vs Yakumo Kurama. The disguised Jinchuriki was immediately crowded by his teammates. Give them hell, Naruto-kun. But don't give away too much. Hinata told him with complete confidence he would win. Win this, Naruto-kun, and I promise another round of skinny dipping back home. Isaribi offered with a sexy smirk. Another round? Anko asked herself. You've got a lot to explain, both of you. I hope you get a better workout than I did. Tamari commented. Sasami, Fu, and Haku each gave him a supporting wink. Naruto went down to the arena and looked over his selected opponent. Yakumo Kurama turned out to be a young woman with long brown hair wearing a purple dress and a red mesh shirt underneath it and blue leg coverings showing on the visible parts of her calves. A yellow clip was seen in her hair at the left edge of her bangs and a cream-colored pouch of some kind was strapped on her back, much like Fu. The way she stood made her look as if she was ready but reluctant to be here. Hayate coughed 4 times before he could say anything. Ugh. I need some water. Okay, ready? Begin. Neither genin made a move right away, at least to attack. Naruto took the standard stance of Toad-style taijutsu while Yakumo looked defensive, as if expecting to be hit right away. She relaxed slightly when no such impact was felt, but her guard didn't drop. Naruto hesitated to fight only because he was still planning his own strategy here. Okay, apparently she's part of the Kurama clan. From what I remember, they're genjutsu experts with little skills elsewhere, with a Kekkei Genkai that few outside the clan even understand. I think I know how best to counter her, but I better do it carefully so Konoha doesn't get more curious than they already are. With a plan now made, Naruto pulled out a kunai with a paper bomb attached, lit it with his chakra, and threw it towards her. It landed in front of her but she managed to put enough distance between herself and the blast before it went off. As the smoke cleared, Yakumo reached into her pouch and pulled out something. Naruto was still covered from view by the smoke but she could see his silhouette and saw he had another explosive kunai almost ready. I'm not dealing with those again. Illusion art, great pain. Yakumo said nervously as she held up what she was holding. An 8 by 11-inch painting of a right arm where all 3 bones in it were snapping like a twig. She channeled chakra into it and waited for her opponent to gaze upon it, which would trigger the result she needed to end this. The dust cleared and Naruto looked at her clearly. Yakumo smiled, thinking this would be over soon, but she still held a look of regret for doing this at all. Then Naruto threw the bombed kunai at her, hitting the painting and making her drop it. She got away in time again and looked at Naruto in fright. That fright only got worse when she saw he had used his uninjured right arm to throw the kunai in the first place. That can't be. You shouldn't be able to use that arm now. She stated with a hint of a whimper in her voice. Sorry Kurama-san, but I'm prepared for genjutsus. Naruto told her, his Neo Sharingan active but impossible for anyone to clearly see from their positions. All Yakumo herself could see was that his eyes were orange. Your clan may have the best genjutsus in the world, but I've got an immunity to anything meant to take over my mind. Up on the balcony, Yakumo's sensei Genma got curious and pale at hearing the disguised Jinchuriki say that. Immune to mental manipulation? Damn, Yakumo is completely overpowered here then. Her genjutsus may be the most effective in her clan, maybe even the whole village or world, but if they can't work on this guy for some reason then she's only got one way to win here. She won't like it, but it's her only option. Yakumo pulled out another small painting, this time one of both legs being broken like someone hit them in the knees and ankles with a sledgehammer. Illusion art, great pain. She placed her chakra into the painting and waited to hear the screams that should have come from the young man. She heard nothing, and after opening her eyes which had fearfully clamped shut beforehand, saw no change in Naruto. This is impossible. No one can be immune to my genjutsus. You should be on the floor wailing in agony. Subsonic's warnings about this situation flashed through Naruto's mind briefly. The hidden agent made sure to warn him about all of the clan's techniques, as far as they knew of them. Konoha's last clan is the Kurama clan. They are considered the least important, to the point where several in the village don't even recognize them. However, they do have some good skills. They specialize in genjutsus and don't even need hand signs to use all of them. And they also possess a Kekii Genkai, which is rumored to make it so their genjutsus can actually become reality to the person they affect. If you ever have to face one of them, Naruto-kun, you'd be better off using your Neo Sharingan to prevent them from targeting you effectively. Your Neo Byakugan might work, but considering the ability of your Neo Sharingan to break hypnosis and mind control, you'd be safer with that one in use. Once you make a Kurama's genjutsus useless, if you can, then they should be out of options. With that in mind, Naruto shrugged. Sorry to disappoint, but apparently I'm not. Your drawings are good, but I'm a ninja, not an art critic. Show me something useful. If she doesn't need hand signs, then she must use those paintings as a substitute to make me see the genjutsus she's casting on me. And if she does have a Kekii Genkai like Subsonic said, then right now my limbs would actually be broken instead of just feeling like they were. That's a damn useful technique, but without it what else can she do? Yakumo backed up against the wall, her arms nervously yet protectively in front of her. She was breathing heavily and started to sweat in panic. My genjutsus really don't work on him? What do I do? What can I do? I'm not good enough yet to rely on Genma-sensei's defense methods. Her vision started to blur. I don't think I can win, but I don't. After that, Naruto saw and sensed a shift of sorts in his foe. Yakumo's posture went from, I'd rather be anywhere than here, to, you are going to die, and her sensible chakra aura seemed to feel darker in nature. Her face even looked a little sinister, much harsher than the timid mouse expression it had been, and the way it was angled made shadows ominously cover her eyes. Her mouth formed a grin much like Orochimaru did when he had a great plan. Yakumo threw the painting aside like it was trash and cracked her knuckles. You want to see something useful, you stuck-up son of a bitch? You've got it. Yep, it definitely happened. Genma told himself. This is going to be brutal. Yakumo moved her left sleeve to show a hidden senbon launcher and fired a wave of several dozen needles right at Naruto. Thanks to his Neo Sharingan he was able to avoid them all in time by jumping to his right. And it was only thanks to those eyes that he saw her weapon contained a second wave that she quickly fired in his new direction while he dodged. Sadly there was little he could do in mid-air to defend himself except perform one technique he knew would just increase trouble later on. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He called out before he created 10 clones that took the hits for him, allowing him to land unharmed. How the hell can a genin from another village know one of our kenjutsus? Let alone use it? Sarutobi asked himself. This new village has a lot of explaining to do. With the smoke created from the shadow clones being killed, Yakumo couldn't take aim anymore. She decided to charge forward and snarl like a pissed-off Sakura would and readied her right fist. She saw Naruto reach for something but her fist connected with his jaw before he could pull it out. Unfortunately for the painter, that was part of Naruto's plan. He expected a close-range strike with her inability to aim through the smoke and took the hit to trap her. Before she could withdraw her fist, he grabbed it with his left hand tightly, catching her off guard. His right hand then planted a movement suppression seal tag on her abdomen and then flipped her up and over him like a judoist. Yakumo landed on her back and found she couldn't move, only struggle. She glared and squirmed like a chained animal. Release me this instant, you piece of crap. These seals didn't usually suppress vocal movements, so the sealer could still acquire information from the victim. Something's gotta be wrong with her, Naruto told himself as he looked at her while rubbing the sore spot she hit. You don't just go from afraid of your own shadow to foul-mouthed berserker in the blink of an eye. So either someone else is controlling her for this match, or she's got a split personality. Only one way to find out for sure. With that, Naruto held her head to make her give him eye contact, his Neo Sharingan taking effect right away. Right away he noticed something wasn't quite right. While the Sharingan was designed to force a sort of mental lock on someone's behavior to a specific degree, the Neo Sharingan was designed to remove any such locks and free the trapped personality from the forced control. So if there was anything in Yakumo's mind that was unwelcome and affected her behavior, he would find it and destroy it. But to do that, he had to actually enter their mindscape for a moment, much like Tsukiyomi allowed, and overpower the representation of the outside influence. He theorized the Sharingan worked similarly to create some control over another, but he had no way of proving it. Once he was in Yakumo's mindscape, which was mostly a swirling mixture of dark blue, light blue, dark purple, and black in an empty void, he saw the girl chained face down to the mental floor crying and struggling to get free. That proves she's not in complete control of herself now, but if she's being controlled by a genjutsu or something, then she could be mobile but controlled like Kankuro's puppets. Not chained to the floor. A dark chakra aura stopped Naruto from investigating the matter, but it may have answered his unasked question. This chakra took on the form of some sort of dark-skinned Oni with Yakumo's hairstyle and similar but darker colored clothes. The fangs of this Oni were easily bigger than Naruto's fingers, and the horn spread out to the side of the head like a bull but less curved. Run! That thing will destroy you! Yakumo cried out from her chained-down position. Go ahead and leave. I'll just go back to fighting you physically like before. Makes no difference to me if I kill you here or there. The Oni told Naruto. So she's the real personality and you've somehow taken over for the time being? Naruto asked this mental monster. How? Oh, I'm real alright. The demon told him, brandishing its claws to appear more threatening, one of which pointed at the frightened Yakumo. I'm the other half of that feeble girl's mind, just as real as she is. Only difference is that I'm the side that actually wants to hurt and kill others, while that coward is the other aspect. Naruto didn't look like he accepted this explanation. That can't be the whole story. If that were true, then all of us shinobi would have split personalities like this. The Oni smiled, the fangs making it look all the more sinister. You're right, but why should I tell you when I can just kill your spirit than your body? The demon then thrust its claws at Naruto, who blocked both attacks with a pair of kunais. He tried to hold the demon back, but he felt himself being slowly pushed back. This is not going to be easy, he told himself as he pushed back as hard as he could. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.